Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. We had a massive trade last night in the NFL. Two quarterbacks being traded for one another. Bunch of draft picks going from the Rams to Detroit. Matthew Stafford headed from Detroit to Los Angeles. The much rumored move for him. We finally have a destination. So I'm going to talk about my reaction to that trade, the fantasy impact, as well as the NFL impact on that trade, what it means for both of these teams, why they did it, as well as my opinion on that on top of it. So thank you guys for dropping in for this reaction video, a YouTube exclusive. This one was not recorded live on Twitch, but I do stream 5 days a week. If you wanted to go look for links to that and all my other socials down below, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, reply to the video, do something, click a thing, right? You guys know what to do. Thank you guys very much for being here once again. And let's just go right through kind of how things went down last night. Schefter tweeted around 7 p.m. Pacific time, Detroit is trading Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for 2 future first-round picks, a third-round pick, and Jared Goff per sources. Two former number 1 picks, trading places. First blockbuster trade of 2021. So, first of all, awesome. Gotta love the news. Gotta love things happening. Football season basically never ends. The first reaction from a lot of people was, wow, if that's what Matthew Stafford costs, right? If that's what he costs, what is Deshaun Watson going to cost? It's my opinion that the picks weren't really the impetus of what they're getting from Matthew Stafford. The Rams, and again, this was echoed by Lindsey Theory, the Rams and Chargers beat writer here in Los Angeles, one of the ESPN Nation reporters, abundantly clear with the reported terms of this deal. The Rams paid the Lions to take Jared Goff and his contract. I think that that is exactly what happened, especially when you look at the contracts of these two players, right? So like you take a look at Jared Goff, we're over here on Sport Track, taking a look at what he has left on his contract. So we're going into this 2021 season. 27.8 million this year, 25.5 million the next year, with a potential out here after year 4 of the deal, which would be after the 2022 season. So the Lions being on the hook for this money, they said, look, this is kind of the Osweiler thing, right? Where we'll take the bad contract, you give us picks and we'll get assets. Now the Rams have a history of basically dealing away all of their picks in the first round. You can see here, starting with the Jared Goff trade to acquire that number 1 pick, Rams have just given, here, take our first round picks. We don't need them, right? Like 2017, they traded to the Titans, 18 to the Pats, 19 to the Falcons, 2020 to the Jags, 2021 traded to the Jags. That was in the Jalen Ramsey deal. 2022 and 23 traded to the Lions. Now, future first round picks, not worth as much in trade as current first round picks, where you know what the exact number is going to be based on that Jimmy Johnson grading system, where each pick has basically a specific value. It's determined by what the teams think, but that was the more innovative way of thinking about things during the 80s, and everybody has kind of adopted that. Future first round picks, I mean, if the Rams are still competing in the playoffs in 2021 and 2022 for those 2022 and 2023 picks, and that's debatable whether or not they're still going to be a good team, those picks aren't going to be worth as much as if the Rams just, have a trash season and have to blow it up. We've seen that happen to Houston, who was a very good team the last couple of years, deep in the AFC playoffs, and then they just had a really terrible year. I mean, maybe that was because they dealt David Johnson and dealt Nook Hopkins for David Johnson. That's a whole other argument, right? But that's the philosophy, is that those future first round picks that are 2 and 3 seasons away aren't just valued as much as one that's valued for this season, where it's the number 2 pick or the number 8 pick or the number 15 pick. So yes, they give up first round equity. But the argument to be had from an NFL perspective is, if you're in the championship window, should you just be going for winning Super Bowls and appearing in Super Bowls? Like, if you think that this team has the ability to be in the Super Bowl contention or in the championship window, trading future assets to get yourself there definitely makes sense if you look at it through that lens. Now, do I agree with that philosophy in total? No, I think you should be collecting assets, not giving assets away. But knowing the NFL and how cyclical it is, and once you have a defense like this where all the players are in their prime and you have salary cap issues where you're not going to be able to bring on a whole lot of different players over time, and again, looking at Matthew Stafford's contract for the next 2 years. Big this year at $32 million, but then down to $15 million the next year. And then, the potential out here after 2020. That's where they trade him. And then this year, 2021 and 2022, $20 million and $23 million. So way different in terms of what he's going to get and what that cap hit's going to be, especially in comparison to Jared Goff. They save a couple million there. So it's kind of a lateral move in terms of salary. For fantasy purposes, I think that it's similar to a lateral move, but in terms of on-field impact, in terms of what this means to the Rams as a team and an organization and their ability to win Super Bowls, they're in a division now where there are superstar quarterbacks. And they're one of the teams that now has one of those guys. I've mentioned many times on stream that in order to compete for Super Bowls, you don't need to have the best quarterback in the league. You just need to have guys that aren't going to kill you. And while I will never compare Matthew Stafford 1-for-1 with Tom Brady, I'm of the opinion that Matthew Stafford is actually good. He is a fringe top 10 quarterback, no matter where you grade him, whether you're grading him at like 9th or whether you think he's like the 12th best quarterback in the league. He's clearly in the top half and borderline top 10 on a year-in, year-out basis with really bad coaching. Now he goes to an extremely good coaching staff that has been somewhat innovative in the way they call plays, although McVay does tend to get pretty nitty from time to time. So this is a massive upgrade in quarterbacks, but the same people who seem to not like the acquisition of Matthew Stafford are saying, is it really an upgrade over Jared Goff? Yes, it's really an upgrade over Jared Goff. And you look at what happened with the Buccaneers going from a younger Jameis Winston last season to a much older but way more efficient Tom Brady, a team with a really good young defense with a chance to win, really good weapons on offense, and solid coaching and offensive game plan. They went from a team that couldn't make the playoffs to a team that was going to the Super Bowl after the 2020 season. I think the Rams are now one of the Super Bowl favorites. They're clearly a playoff team still. This improves their position on the field. And kind of looking over at PFF real quick. In 2020, Matthew Stafford was the 13th ranked quarterback in the league in terms of this here, the passing grade, right? If you look at their overall offensive grade, we can rank by that too. Jared Goff, 23rd in the league. If you go back to 2019, Matthew Stafford, number 7 in terms of passing grade with an 82.6 overall offensive grade. Jared Goff, 20th. Big time upgrade here. We've said before, you just need a top half quarterback if you have other pieces on the team. If you have deficiencies, then yeah, you're going to have much better quarterback play. And to me, I think that they get that. You get solid play out of Matthew Stafford. Yes, he's on the wrong side of 30, but quarterback is a position that ages a little bit better than a lot of other positions in the NFL. You can see he's pretty consistently at or above an 80 offensive rating as opposed to Jared Goff. And 4 of his 5 seasons have been with McVay, and I can't really scroll down lower here, but you can see these are his last 4 years here under McVay. One season where he had that really great season, 5,400 yards passing and 33 touchdowns, which is kind of behind me over here. In 2018, that was his best season. That might be his outlier season as he graded over 10 points better in both his passing grade and his overall offensive grade on PFF. So Jared Goff just kind of like, he's a guy, right? He's a starting quarterback in the league, but not really somebody who's super stellar. I am of the position that I think people are being a little bit too reactionary about Matthew Stafford not being an upgrade. I think he's a massive upgrade on field for the Rams, although in fantasy, it's not going to be that big of a difference. Much like Tom Brady last year to the Buccaneers was not that much of a difference from a fantasy perspective for the Buccaneers offensive players. But on field, I think this is going to make a big difference in terms of potential wins and playoff wins as well. So looking at the ADP from a fantasy perspective here, right now on Underdog Fantasy, where these guys are going currently, Matthew Stafford was being drafted. This is updated as of this morning, so maybe there were a couple of drafts that finished after this trade went in last night, but he's going around 110 right now. I think that's about where he's going to stay. I think Trevor Lawrence is a little bit too high, but like you're getting Stafford in that Tannehill, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins range, which just kind of feels about right on value. He's not going to jump up here into the Russ Wilson, Aaron Rodgers range. I think his wide receivers, Kupp and Woods, are going to stay where they're at. I don't think that this really affects fantasy all that much from a Rams perspective. You look at Jared Goff, and Jared Goff on the Rams was being drafted as like the 176th, 177th overall pick. And now he's on a kneecap biting offense. Although he does have good weapons like Kenny Golladay. I really like DeAndre Swift this year. I think this is a big downgrade for Jared Goff. And I'd rather take Jameis Winston if he steps into a starting job, or if Garoppolo goes back to New England. This is just not a great spot or a great stacking spot. Now, the one player that I think takes a big downgrade, or at least not a big downgrade, like he's not going to fall rounds and rounds as a result of this, but looking where Kenny Golladay was going around 47, I now would probably prefer Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, again, depending on starting quarterback situation there, T. Higgins, depending on Burrow's health, Woods, Claypool. I think that Golladay kind of slides from maybe 47 ADP down into the mid 50s. Maybe DJ Chark takes a bump up, because I think that Kenny Golladay with Jared Goff versus DJ Chark, because Jared Goff has thrown like 9 touchdowns in the past couple of seasons that were deep touchdown passes on long air yard throws. That's some place where Kenny Golladay can definitely win. He loses that as Matthew Stafford better on deep throws. So from a fantasy perspective, the biggest loser here to me is Kenny Golladay, but he was probably the biggest loser once they got Dan Campbell as their coach, but that waits to be seen. It remains to be seen. I think that he takes a big step backwards here. And then obviously with his injury history as well, I think that's kind of where it goes. So that's my total reaction. Both on field, I think that the Rams did very well. In terms of picks, I think that Detroit did very well. I think that this is a good trade for both teams. I don't think that you need to say, well, this was the winner and this was the loser. Both teams get what they want. The Rams, although in a situation where I don't totally agree in a vacuum on this is how you should be managing your team, they're putting themselves in a position to win football games, or win more playoff football games and the highest leverage football games, as they think they're in the championship window. And if they're not, in 2 or 3 years, they can blow it all up and start over, as we've seen Miami do, as we've seen Jacksonville do as well. So it's a 2-3 year correction if they fail with this one. But we've seen also that McVay wanted to get rid of Cooks, McVay wanted to get rid of Goff, and McVay wanted to get rid of Gurley. So now McVay's gotten everything that he wants out of that front office, and it's on him to produce now offensively in 2021 with that amazing top 3, top 5, maybe the best defense in the league, with 2 very big difference makers in Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. The Rams are in full-on win now mode, and we'll see if they win now in 2021. Thanks for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.